to the Huddle with Rome. I got my boy
What's
Jalen
good?
Jaspers, man, a DeLaSalle GOAT. You know, you married legend, a world overseas traveler, hooping it up. Got my guy on the pod finally. It only took
Yeah,
us
yeah. We made
a
it. We
few
made it
weeks.
through. You know what I'm saying? I could only give you a hard time for so long.
That's real. Hey, but you know, it's one thing I want to say, man. I know we clown you a lot, so I just want to let you know I got my veggies and I got my fruit on deck just in case you want to say anything bad about me today.
I'm glad you finally. I mean, I don't know, how old are we now? But I'm glad you finally picked up a fruit and a vegetable, man. It's crazy, but it's good for you.
Hey, man, you know, and I'm repping, you know, I got the number 14 on.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got your
yeah.
practice jersey. Name on the back. Came
Hey,
prepared
I'm
today.
actually interested in whose closet you got that from. You know what I'm saying? Because like I used to come back from school and like my brother and all his friends and like have my clothes on and stuff. But then like over the years, like you must got something. I know Walt got a closet full of stuff. Like I don't know where it all went. I don't have it no more.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man. Just know I got it. You know?
Yeah, I see.
So, all right, man. So, I always like to open up with something like, you know, me and you, a memory of me and you had. And it's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you, but I'll bring it up right now. I really need to know this answer. Do you remember when we was in subsections? Do you remember this specific race we had? We was in subsections. Obviously, me and you was the top 200 runners. And do you remember what we told each other before we ran? And do you remember what we did during the race?
I mean, I remember what we did during the race. You know what I'm saying? Because like I don't know what times we had kind of run before then, but like we knew we were the two like fastest dudes in the heat at least for
Right.
sure. You know what I'm saying? So like yeah, I know. I mean, I knew we said we was something like we was just gonna get through it or whatever. But then I remember like after we ran the curve of the 200, we were coming down to the last 100, and it was still like people were still kind of close to us or whatever. But we was just kind of like, hey, like you ready to go? And you was like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good. So we said that while we was running, and we burnt off and finished 1-2. But yeah, I remember that for sure.
Yeah, that was funny, bro. I be telling people about that. I said me and Jalen used to clown in track. I said that was like a sport where we just dominating every week. It was crazy. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a funny memory. I always try to tell people. I was like, yeah, that's funny. But all right, man, let's open it up, man. Let's talk about your upbringing, where you grew up, where you from.
I mean, I guess originally I wouldn't be doing my family justice. Originally, I'm from Iowa. Like my family's from Iowa. My mom and dad is both from Iowa, but we moved up with my grandparents to Minneapolis, to the south side of Minneapolis when I was like had to be like 3 or something like that. So I mean, I grew up in Minneapolis my whole life. Went to preschool, middle school, high school in Minneapolis. Before I ended up going somewhere else for college. But yeah, I'm a boy from the city for sure.
What part of Iowa was you born in?
So my mom is from like small town like Waverly, but I got family all over Iowa, in Waterloo, in the Quad Cities and stuff like that. And so, like, yeah, now they kind of spread out, but like my mom and her family are originally from like Waverly, which is like a real small town in Iowa.
What's the closest like popular city out there? Is it like Des Moines or
Man,
Ames?
I guess closest city to Waverly, and my geography's probably bad. Like I hope the Iowegians don't come at me in the chat or whatever. But I think it's Iowa City, and Iowa City is where the University of Iowa is at. And that's where my mom went to school and all that too. So
So you say you a South Side kid, you born in Minneapolis. How was it growing up on the South Side?
I
And
mean,
what
it
part of
was
the
it
South
was
Side
cool.
were
Like I
you
said,
from?
we kind of moved up here. Me and my mom lived with some other family. Like we lived with my grandparents once in Iowa. I think we was with my uncle and stuff for a bit, and we lived on our own for a little bit. I'm too young to like remember a lot of that. But then eventually, my grandparents moved back up to Minneapolis, and we moved in with them. Um, when I was real young. So we've been here since I was about 3 years old. But yeah, I mean, like the South Side was cool. Like living with my grandparents was cool. And then my mom got married to my dad when I think I was about like 5 or 6, and they ended up having my younger brother. He actually lived only like a couple houses up from where my grandparents lived, so that's how they met originally. But even when they got married and they bought their own house and stuff like that, like we moved like a block away from my grandparents, so we were still in the same neighborhood and everything over in South Minneapolis, and it was cool, man. Like my family was good. Just had I was blessed enough where they always looked out for me, no matter what kind of trouble I was in or anything like that. Like they made sure I was cool. I didn't have to worry about the lights coming on or food on the table and stuff like that. And if we were struggling, I didn't know too much about it. It's like we wasn't rich, but we was
Right.
good.
Parents ain't gonna never let you know that. So you come from like, I know your mom's, athletic background. I know she was a tennis coach. Did she play tennis, and was that your first sport you played?
No, my mom actually never played tennis or anything like that until she married my dad because he was big into tennis and stuff like that. And so that's originally how I got into tennis and all that too. Was like he introduced my mom to it and then he introduced me to it. But yeah, like tennis, people don't know that I was like a tennis player, and like I'm not gonna front like I was like the best, but like I was pretty good. Like I was one of the better youth in like the inner city of Minneapolis for sure. And then I stopped playing in like, I think officially I stopped playing in like seventh grade or whatever. But even then, like I was going to different tournaments, different country clubs like around Minnesota, and playing a lot of like some of the top competition from Minnesota, and I was doing really well.
Hey, dang, I didn't know that. I know the background, but I didn't know you was like actually playing. I thought you did it just because your mom coached it.
No,
I didn't know you was an
tennis
actual
was like
player.
my tennis was like my joint until like all my friends was playing basketball or football, like sixth, seventh grade. So at that point I was like, I want to play with my friends is playing. And plus
Right.
like not to knock tennis or anything like that, but I was a kid from the city, and all the tournaments were in the suburbs and at different country clubs and different clubs and stuff like that. And kids had like 3 tennis bags and all these tennis shoes and stuff like that. And I'm coming in like afro, like it's hard to believe now, you know what I'm saying? But I'm coming in with an afro and cut off t-shirts and stuff like that. I got my one racket, my shoes, and it was kind of like, it kind of felt like I didn't belong kind of in that atmosphere. But then we got on the court and I was getting busy.
Right. So when did you start hooping?
I mean, when I started hooping, I started like park board basketball probably about 4th grade, but I don't think I seriously started like playing basketball like that till like 6th, 7th grade.
When you like, who was you playing for in the park? What park did you play for?
I played for Pearl Park, and that was, I
Pearl
mean, that was
Park.
good for me because I need to start at the park board level because like I wasn't ready back then. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you talked a little bit to D Boone or whatever, like when his people kind of started Southside, the traveling team. And it's funny because when he brought up that tournament that his dad put us in with like the top AAU tournament in Minnesota and stuff like that, like he wasn't lying. Like we got beat by 20 every game. I cried after every single game, like because we was just getting dog walk every single game, and we was just outclassed, But it was good for us.
Right. So when you was playing at Pearl Park, was there any guys that you grew up with that I would know, or some notable names that you
I
started
mean,
playing off
if
with?
you know Evan Warren, like I met Evan Warren
Yep.
playing through Pearl Park. He was a Southside guy too, and then like some of the older guys and all that. Like nobody really in my age group off the top of my head, but like some of the older guys like Rasheed Hagan played there, Noah Shepherd played there. Some of the other Southside guys played there, and that's really where I feel like some of the kids came from in terms of where Coach Boone got them.
So when you started playing with Southside, what grade did that? What grade was you in? 7th grade?
6th grade, like 6th grade
Sixth
is
grade.
probably my first year, yeah. Because I remember the baby blues. We had the baby blues in the 7th grade. We had the red.
So how did you meet them guys? Was it by chance, or was it school?
Well, I went to school with Derek. I went to elementary school with D Boone. Like that was my guy. I remember we joke about it all the time, but like we used to have the same barber. It's crazy. I used to talk about all these stories when I had hair and stuff like that a long time ago. But like, but yeah, me and D Boone used to go to the same barber and everything too, and we both used to get like the little side part like up here or whatever. So we'd always see each other at school and be like, oh, you went to go see. I don't even remember the barber name, but you went to go see. Our boy or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you got the fresh cut, you got the little side part and stuff like that.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So just talk about that team, man. Y'all had some goons on your team, man. Obviously, I played against y'all. So, when you guys first assembled, like, what was your first thoughts on the team? I know, like, back when D Boone said y'all was getting busted by 20 until y'all figured it out. What was it that made y'all figure it out? And just talk about some of them dudes on that team.
Man, I honestly think it's honestly it kind of felt like a trial by fire thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think we were necessarily like practicing or doing anything that like other teams weren't doing, but like we definitely had the talent. Like we had a lot of guys that came through that program, like a lot of big time athletes like D Boone, Mike Hamp, Bryce Hawkins, Evan Williams, Jalen Williams, like Walt DY. Like we had a bunch of guys go through that program, man. Like we had a lot of talent go through that program. And yeah, I think it was just kind of like trial by fire. Like we kept that core group for those 2 or 3 years. I mean, for the most part, like a couple guys came and went, but for the most part, it was just us, and we played together. We practiced. And I mean, Coach Boone and Coach Williams were both like really good coaches. They were really big on like building our fundamentals and things like that. So we like learned the game and we learned to play the right way. And I don't know, that was really important. It was just kind of they molded the talent that we had, and like I didn't think, these were just like my boys, so I didn't know we was like real talented until we'd really go to all these tournaments. Like once we had figured it out, we started winning.
Okay, I know you played for field as well. Did you play 7th and 8th grade?
Yeah, just maybe I played 6th grade year too, but I for sure played 7th and 8th grade year.
Played
Yeah.
every year. All right, so your 7th grade year. Do you remember when you came to Lucy Laney and played? Do you remember
I
that
don't
game?
remember. I don't remember. I don't remember everything. I don't remember everything about those games. Did we beat y'all 7th grade or 8th grade year?
So you beat us 8th grade year. So 7th grade year,
Okay, yeah.
it was the game to go to the championship. You guys are up
Oh,
one.
is
My
that when
guy
Joey smoked the
Kayvon hit the
layup?
layup. Yes, Joey smoked the layup. We got the ball and we won. Y'all had a squad. Y'all had no one on that team. I think
Yeah,
what dude named
we were
Thomas
good.
was
No,
on the
bro, we
squad.
were really good. Like we had Joey, we had Noah, we had She, we had me.
Wasn't
I think we
Thomas on
had
that team?
Victor. Like we were set. Like we were we were really good. Like there was like, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying y'all was bad, but like there was no way. I thought we shouldn't have lost to nobody. And it wasn't like you had to be there to understand like the gravity of Joey missing this layup. Like shout out my guy Joey. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a great dude and all that. But like got a steal. I think the game was tied, or we were no. Y'all must have been up one or something like that. But it was like the last seconds of the game, and we get like a steal at half court, and he's really butt naked by himself on the
Myself.
break. With the right hand and everything, it just completely smoked the joint. You know what I'm saying? And then that was it. The air was out of the balloon after that. Like we was cooked.
Yeah, man, that was funny, man. So then we reminded in 8th grade year. So that's when we like kind of started like knowing each other, because we
Yeah.
had our battles with Southside. We ain't got to talk about that, but and, we played each other a handful of times at AAU. But I remember going to field and I see him like, "What up, bro?" Like you like, "What up?" Man, I just looked at y'all team and I looked at my team. I said, "Yeah, we finna lose." Ironically, we only lost by like 2 points. Do you remember? I smoked the last two free throws.
Oh, you know what? I kind of do remember. I kind of do remember that. But y'all was solid that year too, because it was. I mean, I think it was just like you and DJ pretty
Me and
much, right?
DJ, yeah,
Yeah, it was
yep,
you and Derry or whatever, and it was just y'all. But
yeah.
it was like y'all against. I don't man. To be honest, I don't even remember who we had on that team because like all the Southside guys who I went to middle school with, like I guess there was like Evan and some other guys who went there, and D Boone went there too. But like their dads, and Coach Williams and Coach Boone didn't let them play, so it was only me. You know what I'm saying? With a bunch of other guys that we just knew from school and all that. But yeah, no, I remember that now.
No, yeah. I mean, you got your get back, so it's all good. All right, so we playing AAU or whatever. Do you remember? This is another question because obviously I got, I'm a historian. Do you remember when we played that Hoop It Up and Best Buy? And do you remember when we had that brawl against Tartan?
Yeah,
Do
man,
you
it's
remember
funny.
that?
It's funny when I saw some of the questions, I didn't remember. See, I'm jealous of y'all because like y'all remember a lot of this stuff, and I don't know where. Like I was there, you know what I'm saying, but obviously I wasn't there because like I didn't. And when you said that, then it sparked it, and I was like, oh yeah, we was really out there fighting that year. Like yeah, Hoop It Up was different. Like Hoop It Up and Gus Macker, like that was really like we was out there competing. You know what it is,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I remember that brawl. That was kind of crazy. It seemed like it happened out of nowhere. But you know how hooping is. Like somebody get
Yeah.
fouled too hard, somebody talk a little too much, too crazy.
That's what it was. We was like blocking this kid's shot. I had blocked it. Jordan blocked it, and like
Yeah,
the last time he blocked it, I think Didi threw him the ball at the 3 point line. He was literally going up in the air, and dude came out of nowhere and punched him. And this one
yeah,
they
yeah,
had Mark Sonnen on the team. He was a bucket.
yeah. Right.
So yeah, that was crazy. Cause I know it's crazy because you was on the other side of the court. That's when you had the braids with the little bands in your hair or
But hey,
something like
tell
that.
them
That's the
so they
seven.
tell them so they believe you. You know what I'm saying? Because
Hey
otherwise
man,
they're not gonna believe you.
listen, I know you cut it after that. You went to the fade, but I do remember the braids though. But yeah, man, that was pretty funny. So let's talk about do you remember going to national 7th grade?
Yeah, like I remember some stuff from nationals for sure. I think I still have the picture in my bedroom, something at my mom's house or something like that. You know, she got some other stuff hung up in there. But yeah, man, that was a whole different experience, and I feel like I said, like I was there for these things, but I don't know, like I wasn't completely like present. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really understand. I don't think the gravity of like what was going on. To me, it was just like it was another tournament. Like I didn't realize how much talent we were really surrounded by. You know what I'm saying? Until like we pulled up at 7th grade nationals, and they got dudes, their center is 6'8", and he dunking the ball. He got a size, like looked like a size 20 shoe. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these other teams walking around, like we were a big Minnesota team. I thought we were a big team in general. because like we had a couple guys like 6'5" ish, a couple guys like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", in like seventh grade. It was like, okay, we're like that. But yeah, we
Right.
went down there and it was different. I remember the opening ceremony they had like Chris Paul's trainer, Chris Paul's coach. And I didn't even know, to be honest, I didn't know who Chris Paul was. So I was like, all right, this dude's up here speaking and everything else. But yeah, it was a different level of competition down there for sure.
Yeah, that was dope, man. I know we was the only two teams representing Minnesota for our seventh grade class, so that was pretty cool. I think that was
As it
kind of
should have
dope.
been.
And that's what I was telling Big D Boone when he was on. I was like, man, I feel like every game we was like going back to check to see if y'all won, cause like we was
Yeah,
rooting for y'all successes just as well as ours, cause it's like we got to represent. And
yeah,
obviously the Hustlers was out there as well, but they were Division 1 at the time. We were
yeah.
Division 2. We were small fry at the time.
Right, right.
Then we moved up. So yeah, man, that was dope. So let's fast forward. So eighth grade comes, boom, we do the AAU thing. What was your decision on high school? Because again, you a Southside kid. You got hella schools over there. What made you choose DeLaSalle?
I mean, to be honest, it really wasn't like my decision like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it was eighth grade year of football. After I had been around Coach Williams for AAU and Evan and all that stuff, they convinced me to go over to McRae to play football because I'd only played. I think I played seventh grade the year before that. But eighth grade year, so I'm playing with Evan over at McRae, and Evan's sister went to D, and I had never heard of D. Like I didn't know it existed. Like in terms of like I don't know, did we do applications for high school or something? I don't know. I got accepted into a couple different programs. Like Roosevelt was my home school, but my folks didn't want me going there, so
Yuck.
I applied to both. South and Washburn, and I got into both the open programs or whatever at both of those schools. So I was full on going to South or Washburn, and really just depended. And we used to practice over at Washburn, so I know the coach he was already eyeing like some of the guys from our team. Yeah, Coach Williams' daughter, Evan's older sister, Taylor, went to D. And Coach Williams and Miss Williams is telling my mom and my dad, like, yo, like, you should just, like, look into D. Like, it's a really good school, blah, blah, blah. And then, we pulled up to D. And, I mean, a special place as it is, like, we didn't know that when we was walking in. But, yeah, like, once we went there, my mom was pretty much decided, like, yo, like, he's going here. Like, this is what he needs, because I had some other stuff going on in middle school. And she didn't like who I was running with. So, like, D was definitely the move.
So when you got there, obviously all your running mates was going there. Then you see obviously some familiar faces like me, and you meet Walt, and you see all these other guys. Like, what was your like first impression on that class? And I don't know, man. I hate to bring it up, still. People just don't understand like the talent and the
Yeah.
names we had in that class. So if you could talk about that to a certain extent.
I know our class was different for sure, you know what I'm saying? Because like you get other classes and stuff like coming in and they don't have like the immediate impact and success that like a lot of guys in our class really had, you know what I'm saying? And when I say immediate, I mean like, we're walking in there as like 14-year-old kids and we're part of like multiple varsity programs, you know what I'm saying? Like we had the size, we had the ability, we came in hungry. Like it was just different. Like I saw the list that you made just in terms of like the guys that went there. Like if we could have kept everybody that started at D for all 4 years, like I don't even know what would have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like we still had plenty of success. You know what I'm saying? State championships, state tournament appearances, state championship appearances, and all that. But like if we would have kept that team, or at least like all of the guys that was with us from the jump, like yeah, it really would have been crazy. Because like I knew a couple of the guys from Southside was going there. Like I knew Evan was going there, Bryce was going there, D Boone was going there. Then all of a sudden, Jalen Williams is like, yeah, I'm gonna come there too. Then we got, Mike Camp. I'm not sure if he started there or if he came like the year after or anything like that. But it was
Yeah.
it was really crazy. And then yeah, pulling up and seeing guys like you, like Muhammad, like there was a lot of guys that that we knew from the scene and from the AAU and all these other sports in the city. But like the fact that we was all here, it was like we didn't know that. We weren't best friends at the time, so it was kind of
Right.
lit.
No, it was definitely lit. So you played football briefly. Your football career ended briefly. We played freshman year. You was a receiver in the corner. In my opinion, I think you could have been a Division 1 receiver. You one of the most crazy athletic people I know. So what was the decision on to stop playing football? A little birdie told me that Thorson made you stop playing football. So I
No,
just want
no,
to
it
know the real
definitely
story.
It definitely wasn't Thorson because like we had a lot of guys on the varsity basketball team that he liked like the football guys. Like I'm not gonna say they were necessarily like the star players all the time and stuff like that, but he felt like football gave you like a toughness, like an edge. So he liked those guys. He didn't like that football season kind of bled over into basketball season, but for the most part, like he liked the football guys. So it wasn't Thorson. I think it was just I don't know. Like I really only played football like seventh and eighth grade. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like I didn't grow up like playing because my mom didn't want me to play. So I didn't really have like a serious like love for it like I did with basketball and stuff like that. And I was just really ingrained in like the basketball program. Like I was doing all the summer workouts with the varsity guys. I was doing the summer lifts. Me and Bryce was getting like extra workouts and stuff like that. And like Thorson was, I mean, he's pretty much like grooming us to be a part of the program and stuff like that. And I didn't get that same. I don't know if you want to say like attention or whatever from the football program. Maybe there's too many guys. Like they knew our freshman team was good, because obviously we ain't lose a game or nothing. But like they, I just didn't like. I don't know. I didn't like the vibe I was getting from football, and like basketball just seemed like my thing. So it was kind of a tough decision, but it was just like my focus was just on basketball at that time. It wasn't anybody's decision really but mine.
Well, I wish you didn't stop playing. We definitely could have used you for sure. But hey, you made the right decision. So you ended up playing with JV your freshman year, and you were a big contributor on the JV team, JV and varsity. So how was that? Like you said, you was doing the workouts, you was doing the summer workouts, the extra workouts. Thorson kind of was like grooming y'all to be a part of the program. So how was that like being like you said, you 14 and like you a young 14, so you playing up with all these older cats and you doing your thing. So how was that?
I mean, it's funny when I think back about it. You know what I'm saying? Because like originally, I wasn't like the guy, the freshman that was like the really highly touted freshman. You know what I'm saying? Like to be honest, my boy Bryce, I think was more talented than me at the time, and he was kind of the one they were like, all right, like Bryce is gonna get some real minutes, but like I don't know, man. I never said no to the work. You know what I'm saying? And I just showed up. I kept showing up every day and doing some stuff that they apparently liked. And I remember because the first like 3 games of my freshman year, I got like legitimate minutes, and we were playing a game at St. Thomas Academy, and St. Thomas ended up winning like the state championship that way. But like my body was like physically ready for like the varsity level of sports, but like I didn't know what was going on, man. I'll tell you straight up. Like I remember being in that game, and I couldn't tell you what was going on. I couldn't tell you what play we were running. I couldn't tell you who I was guarding. It was just like the game was moving faster than I could keep up with, and really I just wasn't ready, and I think they kind of realized that, and so at that point they were like, all right, like yeah, like I practice with the varsity every morning, but like if we're gonna get you real game reps, like you're gonna be playing with the JV or whatever, which was cool, but yeah, like mentally I wasn't ready for the varsity game.
Was there any games that like stood out to you your freshman year? Like, oh man, this dude tough, or like this any environments that you was like, man, this is crazy. If I'm about to deal with this for the next 3 or 4 years, like you know what I'm saying?
No, it wasn't like an environment spooked me or anything like that. But like Benil was really good at that time. They had Jordan Taylor on battle,
Yep.
and those guys. This academy was good at the time. I think they actually beat Benil that 2006-2007 year. I think that was the state title game. But yeah, like it was. There were some good teams at the varsity level. I'm not sure if Trevor Mbakwe was at St. Bernard's at that time. I think he
Believe
was at
so.
St. Bernard's at that time, and
Believe
I think
so.
we played them too. Oh no, Jordan Jet was at what was it? It wasn't St. Bernard's. It was a school that closed down before that.
St. Agnes at first.
St. Agnes, yeah. Jordan was at St. Agnes. I remember that game from my freshman year. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Jordan was a real dog, and like it was only him on St. Agnes. Like, shout out Jordan. You know what I'm saying? But like, it was only him on that St. Agnes team, and like we're returning a lot of guys who just came off a state championship. We got Royce, we got Sid, we got Jeremy. We got there was a lot of guys on that team. You know what I'm saying? And then
Anthony
like man, they
Humphreys.
beat us. They beat us at St. Agnes. And like Jordan got like the game winning bucket like down at the end. And he was talking crazy and like, more power to him because I would have been talking crazy too because there wasn't no way they were supposed to beat us. But yeah, man, it was just like seeing that. I wasn't at that level yet. And so like I wasn't hurt about it. Like I still showed up to practice and work and stuff every day, but I knew I wasn't ready for that.
That's facts. So your freshman year ends, you end up playing for Howard Pulley, so there's no more Southside. So what was that decision on? Because obviously, in Minnesota, it's hella AAU teams, and obviously you want to be, you want to play with the best. So you end up choosing Howard Pulley. Like, how did that come about? And obviously, everybody follows suit. I feel like everybody was playing for Pulley.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was just kind of the thing. It's like we couldn't play for Southside no more, which is cool. Howard Pulley was the best program in the state at that time. Like I don't think there was any question about it. Like Royce played for Pulley, and so he was kind of schooling like me and Bryce into like checking it out and stuff like that. And you know, like Evan checked it out, D Boone checked it out, Jalen Williams checked it out, and like this is the best AAU program in the state of Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I think we had 5 or 6 dudes from DeLaSalle on these Pulley teams, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I knew like our class was like really different. Like the tryout had hundreds of kids there. And you telling me like 5 or 6 from the same class at the same small school in Minneapolis made it, you know what I'm saying? It's different. Like our teammates would come from all over the place. Some of them driving like hours for practice and we driving like right down the road, like 5 or 6 of us. And we playing with the same dudes that we've been playing with for the last 5 years.
Right. So how was that playing with Pulley? Like I know you guys traveled a ton. So how was that? Talk about some of the other players that was on the team at the time.
Yeah, that was cool, man. It was. I'm trying to think, man. This stuff be so long ago. I know our team was like Bryce. I want to say D Boone, Evan. We had like Marvin Singleton. We had Marcus Alapata. They were both a year younger, but they were playing up with us. Some other top guys from like other like suburban high schools and stuff like that. I apologize, you know, the names escaping me and all that. It was a long time ago, but yeah, man, like the travel was really cool. It was something way different. Like Southside, we played local tournaments and tournaments in the Midwest with Pulley. I mean, we driving all over. We doing Iowa, we doing Kansas, we in the Nike tournament down in Nashville. You know what I'm saying? We taking the coach buses. We got all the gear and stuff like that. Like that was my first experience with anything like that. You know, and that was just kind of the level. Like it's the EYBL circuit now, you know what I'm saying? But like the Nike circuit was it was a different level of ball. Like I remember running into a lot of like high level guys, a lot of guys that, you know, played at major universities, a lot of guys that played in the NBA and stuff like that. Playing against these guys is like you don't think about it now. I mean, hell, I remember getting punched on like at the Nike tournament, you know what I'm saying? Like in Nashville, and that was kind of like it was a thing for me, but it's like I'm somebody who really loves to fight and like loves going up into those matchups and things, and so like I always look forward to like leaving during the week. Plus, we had to travel so far. Like sometimes we get out of school on like a Thursday just to get down for the tournament. So if I'm missing school, I was cool with that.
That's what's up, man. So all right, man, your sophomore year come. Obviously you came back diesel and then you get in a rotation, you playing. Was you starting that year? Sophomore year?
I don't think at the beginning of the year I was starting, but at the end of the year I was
At the end
starting.
of the
Yeah.
year. Yeah, because you averaged like 8 a game. I
No,
looked your stats up.
I averaged more than I think I averaged closer to 10, but you know
Nah,
it's
you
like
averaged 8 a game. But it's cool.
you
Come on.
fact checked me.
It's
Oh,
the
I thought
historian,
I
man.
had
Come
that.
on. Nah,
All
nah.
right,
So
all right.
so so talk about that. Cause I feel like y'all had a good team. So let's talk about that. You getting meaningful minutes. You still running into Benil. They
Yeah.
still got dogs. And then I think if I want to say no, that's not the year, but I want to say y'all played some tough teams at the D. Let's talk about that. Talk about some of them battles you had.
We did, and for one, like I know there was the sophomore year in particular, we were in the Houston versus the Nation tournament, which is a Nike tournament down in Texas. So we flew down to Texas for that. And D Boone told you, but like Texas just does sports different. You know what I'm saying? We were at this sports complex. They had like a big old football field. They had a big basketball stadium and stuff like that. Like it was legit. It was probably nicer than a lot of like Division I, like college stadiums and things like that you would play in. And we were down at this hotel, and it's us, you know, little old DeLaSalle from Minneapolis, and we down there with Oak Hill. We down there with St. Pat's out of New Jersey. And that was the whole thing, was these Nike sponsored teams were going to go down to Houston and they were going to play against these Texas teams. And so we played 3 games down there and we lost all 3 games. Boy, Orson was pissed. Oh my God, he was not happy. He was ready to take all our gear off. He was going after us. You know what I'm saying? You guys think you're good. You came down here, you embarrassed us, you embarrassed Nike. He had the coach from Oak Hill pulled up at the practice. He was a friend of his or whatever, and he was like, talk to them about the program and how we do things. And I remember the coach from Oak Hill was like, hey, like, y'all took the program back a couple years, you know what I'm saying? And that was kind of tough. That was kind of a tough pill to swallow, you feel me? But it was a good experience. It was really dope. I played really well down there, and I think after that is when I started kind of getting even more minutes. that sophomore year and stuff. But like, yeah, we had a lot of battles. Like our battle against Benil was like really good that year. I think Jordan and Armand were both seniors that year, but that's something like I really look forward to. And I remember Bryce's mom, because I think I played well that game too. And Bryce's mom had like a little internet article that one of the beat writers from the city or whatever had wrote up about it. And he had wrote like our names in there because I think we had both played well that game, and that was cool. You know, it's those kind of moments that kind of empower you to feel like yeah, like I really like that. Like I really belong. Like this is us. You know what I'm saying? Like when you playing with these high profile guys, and then all of a sudden you out there, you know, going blow for blow with them. So that was cool.
Yeah, so you got your confidence up. So did y'all end up playing Oak Hill down there or no?
No. So we didn't play the other Nike schools, but like Oak Hill was different too. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we look like a regular high school team, and Oak Hill's got like 4 or 5 dudes on that roster that are like 6'7", 6'8". Like we got 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? But them dudes
Right.
look like legit men. Like we look like high schoolers, and they look like men, and that was kind of the difference in our programs that I saw right away. Like they was eating breakfast, you know what I'm saying? And like Nike, like, no, they eating first. And we like, all right, we'll wait, and then we got our breakfast after that, you know. But
Sure. Okay, cool. So all right, we're gonna keep it going. So junior year come. To me, as a fan, that's your coming out party. Cause you
yeah,
was
I
going
mean,
you and you used to go stupid.
yeah,
You used to
yeah.
go
Well, I mean, it
stupid,
was
bro.
it was one of them things. Like I said, like sophomore year is kind of like it sucks because you know my boy Bryce or whatever, he's like my real running mate in terms of like you know hoops and like we hang out and stuff like that. And he ended up moving to North Carolina that year. But we really wanted to be like the 1-2 punch at D, and then we had a transfer. You know, we had AJ Barker come over from Mounds Park,
Yep.
and so I had been with the program for 2 years at that point, and AJ was at Mounds Park, and Mounds Park didn't have the history that DeLaSalle has in terms of like success and all that stuff. But I mean, he was over there averaging I don't know probably 25 plus a game or whatever. So when he came over to D, Thorson was like, all right, like AJ's gonna be the guy. I got nothing against AJ, you know, I love AJ and all that stuff. But I remember in particular like playing a team tournament that summer before the season started, and he was telling us at the hotel, he was like, hey, like AJ's gonna be the guy, AJ's gonna get the shots, blah blah blah. And like after he said that, like I don't know what he said, like the rest of that whole weekend I blacked out, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what you mean he's gonna be the guy? Like I'm here. Like I was here, I've been here the last 2 years, like I'm the guy. It's not gonna be like that. And I think that was junior year too. We played in the breakdown event, and they came out with a list, and we in the hotel, and Danny come up to me in the hotel, and he's got the whole breakdown list, and it's got like the best 30 players, 30 players in Minnesota for I think our class or something like that. And he flipping through the pages, and he looking at me like
Never go DY.
like your name in here? Like I don't see your name in here. And I was like, all right, bet. they gonna regret that. And I remember because at that breakdown event, I think that's the first time I scored 30 or whatever. And that whole thing, like I was just gassed that whole game. Like I'm sure I missed the shot, but I'm not sure I missed the shot. You know what I'm saying? Like I was really locked in. And we was playing the home team. We was playing Marshall, and they were hosting. And we busted them down, and I had 30. And I got a dunk late in the game. And I ran up in their student section, and I was pounding my chest. And I was feeling myself. And Thorson called a timeout and just embarrassed me in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't care about no book. He didn't care about nothing like that. Like the program was the program, you know? And so he called a timeout. And I'm coming from their student section, and I'm thinking he's, you know, going to give me a high five or something. He grabbed me at half court, and he grabbed me by my jersey, and he walked me like a kindergarten kid all the way to the bench, and then proceeded to just embarrass me in front of everybody, blowing me up. Like, you supposed to act like you know what you're doing. Like, you been here before, blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there like, dang, like, I just had to take it at that point, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I remember that in particular. I was like, hey, ain't no way you ain't got me in no top 30 or nothing like that. Like I'm the one. So that's just kind of how I felt that year.
Right. And that's the game you got the breakdown MVP / player of the game award, right?
I mean, I'm sure I got it that game. There was a couple like border battles against Wisconsin teams and stuff that we won or whatever that I got that in that too. But yeah, it was something like that. But I remember that game in particular, like my junior year, because I think that was one of the first games of the season. And I still remember the smile on Danny's face when he was talking about like, you ain't in this book, man. Like they ain't showing you no love. I was like, all right, well, they gonna show me love after this.
So was that our junior year when Jordan transferred to the same?
Yep. So
So
Joe
then
Dare was at Burners that year too.
Didn't they come to DeLaSalle and play, or did we play them at St.
No, we played them in that tiny ass gym
Tiny
over
Gym?
at St. Bernard's. Yeah,
Right?
that
Yeah,
little cracker box gym. They got like 3 rows of bleachers. They packed that joint out though. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
our game against Burners, and that was kind of the thing too. Was like that whole junior year, it was just like it just felt like there was like this chip on my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Like even though they came out with this article, like some internet article afterwards talking about like, oh, we don't know how Jalen wasn't top 30, blah blah blah. Let's just call that a mistake and move past it. I was like, I wasn't moved past that,
right.
but it was just those matchups like against Jordan, you know, against those really good teams that like I really wanted to like show like I belonged. You know, that was really my whole thing.
All right, yeah. I hate to bust your bubble. We could just talk about Dre a little bit. So me, we share we shared the class together. I'm sorry, I gotta bring it up. We shared the class together. Obviously, so like, and people don't know De La Salle, the rigor is crazy. Like it's a college private school,
Yeah,
so
different.
it's hard. When they say 2 hours of homework, it's 2 hours of homework. Man, we wasn't the best at math at the time, so they put us in intermediate algebra 2. Let's talk about that. Shout out to Mr. Pearson.
Yeah,
'Cause-
actually, shout out to Pearson and the DeLaSalle curriculum in terms of like I think a lot of kids end up when they struggle in school, they can fall through the cracks. You know what I'm saying? And that DeLaSalle, that just wasn't the way, which is why it turned out to be like a great thing for for students like you and me to go
Right.
there because like I don't know about you, but like I didn't take school too serious. But that
Right.
intermediate algebra 2 program and the way Mr. Pearson taught it, like, yeah, it was a lot of us, you know, quote unquote dummies or the kids who were like struggling a little bit in that class. But like that was really good for me because I needed the extra practice. Like, let's be
For
honest, like
sure.
I wasn't gonna pass the senior level math and all that stuff if I didn't lock in and if they didn't have that class. And I'm pretty sure that class only existed for that 1 year and just for
One.
our class. I'm
Nah,
pretty sure that's the case.
it was dope, man. I appreciate that too because I like and I feel like they were looking out for us. They knew we were like prospect athletes, and they know like, well, this kid has to pass this class in order to accept the scholarship. So I looked at it from as I got older. I reflected like, man, they really looked out for us. Like I ain't look at it like, oh, we were dummies. It's just like we needed the extra help, and like it's good that that school recognized that because like you said, like some schools, hey, you failing, it's over with.
Yeah, right,
They
right.
literally handpicked like 7 of us, and it was like, yeah, all right, we in here, small
Yeah.
class, 1-on-1.
There was good like maybe 2 periods of that class. And both classes had like 10, 14 people. You know what I'm saying? All the other classes got 20 something people. Those classes had like 10, 14. Like, hey, y'all lock in. Y'all get this done. Y'all need to understand these basics.
That's real. So junior year, when you guys get to the, you win the conference or whatever, always you get to the section game and say, I remember this. So you said Concordia, St. Paul, y'all played against Holy Angels, right? And they had was Tyler Breida on the team at the time?
Yeah, you know what's funny is I played on his dad's team at Pearl Park when I was a kid. So it's like I at least knew him and his dad and stuff like that. But like yeah, at that point that section thing, like I think it was us, and that was the year Washburn was really good. And Washburn had a lot of the guys that, you know, played for Southside and that I grew up playing with and like in the neighborhood and all that stuff. And so like I really wanted to see that Washburn team, especially like I said, that junior year, like I had that chip on my shoulder, like, and they brought in some guys too, like they brought in De'Aaron, they brought in Dylon, and then they still had guys like Josh, like Noah, like Joey, like Sheed, like big time athletes, you know what I'm saying, and good players. And so that's the year I really wanted. And we just kind of looked over that Holy Angels team. You know, it's like they don't really have nobody. They're not really rocking with us. Like at least that's it's not like I didn't want to show them respect, but at the same time I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna handle my business, and then section finals it's us against the Burn, and that's really what I wanted. I was seeing people from my middle school and from the South Side at the Washburn game they played right before us, and I was looking at them like, yeah, like y'all next, you know, and then Holy Angels came and spun us out and drug us out of there, and Thorson got ejected, and I got teed up, and it was just ugly. But
Thorson got
something I'd
ejected.
rather forget, from being honest.
Thorson got ejected. Thorson
Yeah,
ran out on the middle of that court, got to talking crazy to that ref, and that ref said,
Once
"Get
that
your
game was
ass
out
up
of
out
hand,
of
Thorson
here."
was gonna get his money's worth. You know what I'm saying? I always respect that about DT.
Bro, I remember everything, bro. That's crazy. So yeah, that year ends obviously. So how was recruiting? Obviously, junior year. That's when all the recruiting picks up. How was that? Like, what schools, was showing interest? What schools did you have in your radar? Like, where did you think you were going to go at that point of your basketball career?
Now this is a funny question because like where did I think I was gonna go? Like if you talk to me junior year, if you talk to 16, 17-year-old me, I'm like, I'm going to Duke. I'm going to Kansas. Like I'm going crazy. Like they crazy not to pick me up. We was traveling with Pulley those summers and like we were winning, you know what I'm saying? We weren't like the best team or whatever. We were winning and I was dunking and I was doing my thing and I was like, all right, like, this I'm going to a big school. So I remember getting the invites to like the elite camps and like the showcase camps for South
Hmm.
Dakota State, for North Dakota, for like all these other schools. And I remember getting them in the mail, and my mom was like, "Hey, like, you want to go?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going. Like, I'm not worried about none of that." So like, yeah, the recruiting picked up, and it's like I got calls and letters from a lot of like mid-major like Division I schools and things. Uh,
Hmm.
but like I never got like the official like offer that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? And that was just
What,
kind of
what,
the
I don't mean to cut you off. What mid majors was like, showing interest?
like Southern Illinois, Edwardsville or whatever they were transitioning, Nebraska, Omaha. That's a funny story after college too. Man, I'm trying to think. That's such a long time ago. I got a lot more like Division II letters, and it seemed like those schools were recruiting me like a lot harder. But yeah, that's just kind of the recruiting kind of like picked up that way. But I wasn't getting the interest that I necessarily thought I would get, and I think that was kind of like a good reality check for me too.
Yeah, it just kind of hums you like you good, little fella, but you're not as good as you think you is at this moment.
Yeah, yeah,
Because there's always room for improvement. I've seen ton of kids and people get better
yeah.
after high school, but sometimes that is not the case for some people.
Right.
So did you sign the beginning of your senior year, right?
Yeah, I signed in the early signing period to
So what
go to Mary.
so what was your options? Like, did you have like a top three? Like, because
I
I
mean,
remember
I
that.
didn't necessarily have a top three. I took official visits to Mary, Duluth. I don't know if I took one to like Winona or anything or not, but like that whole like Northern Sun like Division II conference. I think at one point in time, like going into my junior year or my junior senior year, I pretty much had like an offer from like almost every team in that conference. Like Concordia wanted me to come out there, Bemidji wanted me to come out there. I remember Mankato like pulling up to one of the games or whatever because they were trying to get me up there and stuff too. But I think Mankato and Winona are the only two that like ended up like pulling their offer or like offering it to somebody else or somebody else accepted it or something like that. But pretty much like I would say Duluth and Mary were maybe my top two where they were like on me the hardest. For sure the coach at Mary, I mean this is the whole reason I ended up out at North Dakota in the first place.
Okay. All right, yeah. So you signed with Mary, like, so it's like, all right, I got my college squared away. I'm good. Now it's time to kill. So your senior year, did you average like 20 or 22 points a game, something like
I
that?
aver-
Something.
I think I actually averaged more my junior year than I did my
Yeah.
senior year. But my senior year, the team was a lot better. Like that
Way
was
better.
kind of like the emergence of Jonah Travis and like Bretton McNeil was coming along. Lamont Hall was playing more minutes, and these are all guys that were like a little younger. And then we obviously had our senior class and stuff like that with me, Walt,
Hurdle,
yep, and some of
Eli.
those guys. That was kind of like the thing where they were trying to Thorson and the coaching staff were kind of trying to do this dance between like making sure that like Jonah and I were like cohesive enough. And I remember that I had like some conversations with Thorson and with like Todd just over the course of the year, just because like junior year was like that was me. And so like then all of a sudden the emergence of Jonah, and like Jonah's a good player, so they're like, hey, we got to get him the ball too. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but like I'm me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I didn't really get it at that point, you know what I'm saying? But we needed Jonah to win and be effective, and he was, and that's part of the reason that we had so much success like that year. And with Bretson as well, like Bretson and Lamont both played like really big minutes for that junior class that year. And that was kind of what made us really that good. We had this cohesive group of seniors who really all rocked with each other, and we kind of knew what it was. And then the juniors started coming up that way, and that's really how we got it popping.
And that's what's up. Did you guys go to like the Wisconsin border battles that year as well?
Yeah. We beat some team from Wisconsin that our senior year. I think we played at some suburban school in Minnesota. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I remember that was like my Jordan flu game or whatever, where I just felt like a dog's ass that entire day, and then just came out, and I think I had like 30 something or close to it that game too. But then I remember like going to eat at the McDonald's afterwards, and I was just gashed, just like green in the face, just didn't eat any food or anything like that. But I mean, we got the dub, I guess.
What was that play called they had for you? Was it called Loop Jalen? Was that the play?
how, how do you know that? I think it was like loop or it was like rip, yeah. But it's pretty much like they run me across like an Iverson screen at the top, which means like I'm on one wing and they have people screening for me at both the elbows, and they just run me over the top. And then the other guard on the other side swings through to clear out that whole side, so I can just go one on one on that right side or whatever. That was I think it was rip or whatever is what they called it. But yeah, that was the exact set. I used to get money on that
Used
set.
to get busy, bro. My life, bro. I'm a spectator at this point because my career was over basketball, so I'm chilling. Boom. I should be looking like, does every play go to Jalen? Like they still run that play.
Hey,
Hey, out of 5 possessions, they doing that play 3 times. Oh God.
yeah, yeah, I know. And here's me talking about like I'm not getting enough shots. I'm not doing this, and yeah, it's like I really do. Like I said, we had a really cohesive group that senior year, and I think that's why we had as much success as we did. But like, we really like that group. Like they just kind of we just kind of understood what it took to win, and so like there were a lot of guys that sacrificed a lot of their shots, so I was getting shots up. You know what I'm saying? And like that's something I didn't really pay too much attention to at the time, but that's like a really hard job to do if you're like somebody else on the team and like you're trying to get busy too.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, we were really just like this two-headed monster with a bunch of pieces and a bunch of guys who like really like playing together. And we ended up. I mean, we didn't win the state championship that year. You can argue that we could have. They had that really good team over at Johnson that year. But yeah, man, that was kind of just dropped the ball on that one. I feel like.
Okay, hold your brakes. So, did you guys play against that Dominguez team? Was that year y'all played against them? Because I
I
remember
don't
a
think I don't
Wisconsin
think
team came up
Man,
to.
we did play against some Wisconsin team. The other, I think, junior year was the year that Madison Memorial came over. The junior or
Yeah,
sophomore year.
yeah, Madison Memorial. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They came and they played us at D, and they gave us a beat down at D, and they had a couple good guys. They had Jerome Mayman and Vander Blue were both of their
yeah,
guys who were
Vander
like,
Blue. That's why I remember because I'm
yeah,
like
he
it was
was he was
some
my
dude.
class. He was my
Yeah,
class.
yeah, I
Vander Blue,
remember that.
I want to say he played at like Marquette or something like
He
that,
played at
and then the
Marquette.
other
Yep.
dude ended up playing. He might have played at Marquette too, but yeah, like they were a really good team that year or whatever. But the other team we played senior year, they had a guy going to. I remember they had a guy going to Green Bay, and Green Bay was another one of the teams that was like talking to me at one point. But I don't think I ever really got an official offer for, so I kind of took that personal too, and so that's kind of why we had to bust them down that year.
Your senior year, I remember you guys played against Ossie. I want to say was it the first game of the season?
And that was the breakdown event that year.
Breakdown
Yeah,
event. So a lot of this people talk about what was it?
Aaron Anderson,
Aaron Anderson, boy,
different,
a baby killer. He
different.
looked like a little elementary kid out there buzzing. Talk
Yeah.
about that dude, man, because a lot of people don't know. We really had athletes, and you could attest to this now, because like the recruiting is ridiculous now. Like it's all
Right.
potential, and like just talk about like the dogs we had. We could talk about some people in your class too. Talk about how good that dude was.
Yeah,
That's one dude I always respect. Again, hey, you better lace him up because he's gonna give you money no matter
yeah,
what.
yeah. It was really funny because like me and Aaron are pretty good friends now, and like we both played Pulley together and all that stuff too. But yeah, he was an Osseo guy in that year at the breakdown. Like we ended up playing them. But like yeah, A was just different because I mean A is 6 foot in his shoes on a good day. He ended up going to North Dakota or whatever and had like a really good 4 years over there. I'm pretty sure he was all conference a couple times. He had a really good professional career where he's played in a number of different countries and stuff too. But I don't know if he still holds records, but he did hold records for like steals and assists and all that at UND. So yeah, he was really different. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like those are the games that I really got up for. Is like when I really knew the guy on the other side, and like Aaron is one of them guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wanted to give him the business. I wanted to give Osseo the business. I knew some of the other guys that he played with just through AAU in Minnesota and stuff, and they were a decent team that year. But yeah, they beat us.
Yeah,
They
but
beat us, and I think A got the player of the game that year for the breakdown thing too, and I was kind of hot about that, but you can't give it to the loser.
shout out to Aaron, aka Walt Twin. So man, you guys do extremely well that year. Obviously, we win the conference. We win it. You feel me? We get the sections, and we get to the section championship, and you guys play against a highly talented Columbia Heights team.
Straight up.
That game was so crazy, bro. Like, man, I was on the edge of my seat the whole game. I'm talking about a constant back and forth. Like they had Zach Lofton, was
Jacob Thomas.
Jacob Thomas.
Yeah.
They had some dudes on their team, man. Like
Yeah.
talk about that game and how y'all prevailed in that game. Cause on
What I
paper, and I'm being 100, y'all shouldn't have won that game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
But
remember because like Jake was another Pulley guy, and Zach Lofton was a year or two younger than us. I don't remember what it was,
yeah,
but I remember he might have been a year younger than us, and I think maybe my junior year, like some of the senior class was still playing JV, and they were talking about like, yeah, this freshman on JV, just gave us 40. I'm like, ain't no way y'all let a freshman give you 40.
cause
You know what I'm saying?
Zach went to St. Bernard's. He
Yeah,
was
right,
there. He
right.
was there.
Yeah, yeah. He went to
Yeah.
St. Bernard's at that time, so yeah, we was playing against him at that time. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, on paper, because like Jake was a prolific shooter and a prolific scorer, and like Zach was really coming into his own too, and like both those dudes were probably averaging between 25 to 30 a game on this team. So it's like, if you want to beat that team, you have to find some way to shut the water off. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to John Hurdle. Like it could have just been a bad night, but John was all in Jake's business that whole night, and Jake had a rough shooting night, and I think we still went to overtime, if I'm
hmm
not mistaken, and we won that game in overtime and stuff. But yeah, the energy in that building was crazy. Just playing like with Jake on Pulley again, it's just one of those games. It's like, I knew this dude was one of the best players in our class, and I'm like, and I knew what we had that year, but at that same time, it's like I took a lot of stuff personal, and I think that's just how I kind of got my edge on some things. But yeah, like we ended up getting the win in that game. But yeah, that was one of the crazy games in my career for sure.
So no, that was one of the craziest games I've ever seen live.
And
Obviously, no.
that was the first year since I had been to D, since our class had been to D, that we'd even been to the state tournament. And that was like a letdown the 3 years before that, as we hadn't gone back to the state tournament. So that was a really big deal for us at that point.
Shout out to 2010 class. I'm sorry.
Hey, shut up.
Hey, so look, you end up going to state. We get by the first game. Then you run into Grand Rapids.
Yep.
Talk about that game. If I can remember, you guys missed so many free throws.
Yeah, that game was really ugly. Like, you got to think. Well, so we played them earlier in the year, this same year,
And
because
sniped them.
Thorson, the mastermind that he was, he kind of like built our schedule where we would play some of these like suburban teams, or these teams kind of from outstate Minnesota, but we play these good teams that we think we may see again down the road. So he kind of wanted to get like an idea of like what they were running and who they were. So if we ran into them, we'd be ready for them. And we played them in their gym at Grand Rapids and beat them by 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and Jonah both got busy. And so like after we beat Little Falls in the first round of the state tournament, going into the second round of the state tournament, like we already knew what we had against this team. And so all we had to do was like show up and take care of business. And just like kind of junior year, the year before, when I was looking at Holy Angels, and I was like, all right, well, we're going to handle our business here, and then we're going to play Washburn in the final. Like, we were doing the same thing with Johnson. Johnson had won the game right before we had gone out to the state tournament, and they see us in the tunnel going out, and they was talking crazy. And I was like, all right, well, I need all of that. So let's go take care of this business, and let's go get this win. And yeah, man, dude, I think we were like 9 for 20 from the free throw line. We turned the ball over like 20 plus times. And we lost a double overtime game, and the final score was 44-40. So I really feel for anybody who bought any tickets to that game, because that was just a bad showing of basketball in general. And my college teammate was actually the point guard, Mike Johnson from Grand Rapids. And Mike was a hell of a player and a freak athlete in and of itself and all that too. But it was just like, yeah, that was real disappointing. They went on and they almost beat Johnson, like respectfully. Like they lost by, I think, like 2 or 3, and it was only at the very end that they lost. And Johnson had lost a game all year that year. But yeah, it's not like they were a bad team, but it was just like I don't think I don't know. I guess our focus wasn't where it needed to be because like we didn't get the job done.
Yeah, heartbreaking. So you guys ended up winning the third place game, right?
I don't even remember.
You don't remember? It was a
I
blur after that.
I couldn't even tell you if I'm being honest. Like I was after we lost that game, like that was the year for me. So I was checked out.
You checked out. All right. So before we move on to college, who was the top 5 players you played with in high school?
Like that I played with,
You played with
like on my team.
on your team.
Damn, top five in
That
high
boy
school.
is
I think
scratching. That boy is scratching that that ball.
yeah, buddy, I gotta get to thinking. You know what I'm saying? Top five. You know, when somebody asks you to make a list, like that's serious. You can't leave nobody off the list.
Hey man,
Uh,
everybody can't make it.
no, everybody can't make it. You know what I'm saying? I want to include everybody. Top five in high school is kind of crazy. I mean, Jake Thomas, Aaron Anderson. I played Pulley with both of them. Man, who else? Who else was good, man, in our class? I mean, Chantrell was a hell of a football player, but he was also he was also a good basketball player too. There's a lot of guys on that list, man. I'm really just thinking back to Pulley and like the class that we had that year.
Yeah,
You know, shout out Jay Hughes, rest in peace. Like Jay was tough, Lou was tough.
it's too many.
There's a lot of guys. Yeah. It's tough to make a list. I know you want a list that people can click on it and come back like, hey, Jay said these are his top five, but like I don't know if I got it for you.
You know what? Let's rewind. Talk about playing against Jordan and Lewis at Henry. Let's talk about that. Talk about how cold them two dudes was. Cause
Yeah, actually,
them is two dudes I played with.
yeah,
Real Northsiders. So like, people don't know, man. Hughes was one of them dudes where like, and I always tell people this, like, if he had a better structure and a better like home life, his future would have been totally different than what it was. So
for sure. And
just talk
he's
about
one
the
of those
levels.
guys. Like you think about like if you stacked him and Lou on top of each other, they might be 6 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how little those guys were. But they were man, they both shoot it. They were both like tough guards, like get up in your grill, like take the ball from you, finishing at the rack. They're both dumb athletic. They're both I think they were maybe 5'6", 5'7", like not big dudes at all, but they were both punching. You know what I'm saying? Like they
Oh,
were different,
Duncan.
man. And yeah, and them battles was again, those is the battles I look forward to. You know, it's like I play with these guys in the summer. I grew up with them. You know, we played against them in AAU and all that before the high school scene and everything. And yeah, like those guys were real tough, man. It's unfortunate, like what happens in life sometimes, man. But like you know, shout out to Lou. Hope Lou's doing good. Jay Hughes ain't with us no more or anything, but like they had a future had it going different, man, for sure.
So yeah, shout out to them, man, my boys. All right, man. So you get to college, man. You far away from the crib. Talk about the adjusting to college life, because obviously you ain't got 7 classes a day. You maybe got 2, 3 a day. You got a little bit of downtown, maybe some workout. You got a full season before your season. So talk about that. Like how was adjusting to college life and all that.
I don't like to be honest. I don't think there was that much of an adjustment for me from high school to college, like maybe some other freshmen go through. And that was just because of like the preparation that we did at D, like the way Thorson would scout teams. Like I was used to scouting reports, the way that we practiced. Like I was used to how difficult practice and conditioning and weights and all that was. Like he brought somebody in to lift with us who was a college strength coach. You know what I'm saying? When we were in high school, so it's like we were used to all this. If I'm being honest, like when I got to college, like the players were better for sure, but
So
like the work was easier. Like it wasn't as tough as it was at D. And my freshman year, we had a really good team. Like we were at one point we were ranked as high as 12th in the entire country. We won 17 in a row. I don't remember if we got a split of the conference title that year or if Mankato won it. I had to look back at it because I only played about like 20 minutes a game and I maybe only scored like 3 or 4 points or whatever. But
yeah,
like,
you average 3.8 points a game.
yeah, okay, look. Okay, that's only because like it was feast and famine. You know what I'm saying? Because I think I had 20 at Duluth that year.
Yeah, we gonna talk
Because one of
about.
our I got to start one of those games as a freshman or whatever because one of our guys was hurt or he was sick or something like that. And Duluth again, like I don't know what it is like how my brain works or anything, but like Duluth was a school that was recruiting me really hard, and I chose to go to Mary, for the coach and all that, and he convinced me to go over there. But like we went up there, and y'all were just going to school down the road, and so y'all
You
pulled
know
up at
we
the
pulled
game.
up.
Yeah, y'all pulled up at the game. It was deep. I had my own little section, you know what I'm saying, of people I knew from the crib, which was cool. And I had this team that wanted me, and they felt a certain type of way that I didn't go there and stuff. So I was like, all right, I get to start, and I'm getting busy. But yeah,
Nah,
we were really good that year, man. Like I think Mankato won the conference that year, but I think we lost out to them by a game, but we beat them by a dub at the crib. The real adjustment to college life was just going from Minneapolis to like North Dakota, and it's just like a completely different speed, a completely different level. Like not nearly as many people like look like you, and that was an adjustment for me too. But
right.
that's the good thing about sports is a lot of the guys that were like on the team or in athletics or whatever at the school where I was at least came from like backgrounds similar to mine, so it was like super easy. It was easy to relate to that way. But I learned a lot about farm life and stuff out there too.
Dang. So who was that point guard y'all had on your team that was real dope? What was his name?
Anthony Moody, he
He,
was all
he was cold.
conference. He
He was
was
cold.
all American. He was that guy. He ended up playing. He got drafted by the Sioux Falls Skyforce or whatever that league or that year. After his senior year, man, but he was, shout out to Ant. It's funny because we had a run in my professional career too, and he's still my guy or whatever. But yeah, he was different that year, man. Nobody could guard him. Nobody could hold him. And he was just like a dog off the leash every game. He'd just go out there and get busy. It didn't matter who was up there against him. He wasn't another big guy either. Like he was maybe 6 feet, but quick, could shoot it, had the ball on the string. And yeah, we were really good that year, man. We had like 2 or 3 all-conference guys, 2 or 3 all-region guys. Moody was an All-American. I was a freshman. We had a couple transfers in from like Iowa State and some other places, so we were good that year.
Yeah, just going back to that. Every time you came to Duluth, man, it was funny. I tell everybody, like especially all the black dudes, like, "Hey, my guy Jalen coming up here. We mobbing to the game." We used to walk to the game. It was like a mile away, but it's cold. We got our jackets. We
Yeah,
in there. I used to always see. I remember we took a picture and everything. But yeah, and it's funny though because Pete Crawford was on the squad at first, and he
yeah,
was
video
not
guy.
getting no burn
Yeah,
until his like senior year, I believe. But
yeah.
hey, 'cause I think y'all came up there your senior year as well.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah,
kind of funny. Like Pete's my boy, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
he doing his thing or
He's
whatever.
cold too. He was cold too, though.
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. We played on Pulley together, and he played at Benil. But like aside from that, like I play at D and he plays at Benil thing. Like we were cool. Like we'd hang out like outside of hoops and all that stuff too. And his kind of run at Duluth was like I was playing freshman year, and like he wasn't playing like that. And Duluth wasn't that good.
Wasn't good.
And so I was trying to figure out like what was going on over there. But then when he finally got some play and they finally kind of let him do his thing, he was getting busy or whatever. But yeah, like shout out Pete because that's my guy, man. We had battles going all the way back to high school and then the same thing in college. Once we finally really got to lace them up and match up against each other.
Yeah. So your sophomore year, bro, you averaged let's see, 8.5 points a game. You started 24 games and you averaged 32 minutes a game. It's only 40 minutes. So you were sitting what, 4 minutes a half, if that.
Yeah.
So how was that? Just like how high school, after your freshman year, you starting to get that bump. How was that?
I mean, for me, it was a little different because like the whole reason I ended up out at Mary was just because like the coach really convinced me. Like the coach was in my corner. The coach was like my guy. He was a player's coach. He was like, hey, like you're my guy. Like let's go do this. And that's really that's really the energy that I wanted or whatever. And so that's Thorson kind of pushed me in that direction. Like, hey, like this dude's calling me every day. He living out and working out in North Dakota, and he drove up to Minneapolis. I don't know how many times. He was at a lot of games, and he was my guy. And after my freshman year, he actually took a job as an assistant at a Division I. And he's like, I can't ask you to go with me, but like, slide.
Mm.
And I ended up telling him no, just because like I had built relationships with the other guys I had in the class and stuff out there. And so I ended up staying there, and then they ended up hiring the assistant. And I just don't think he had the same vision. And so like going from freshman to sophomore year, it was a real adjustment for me in terms of like, yeah, I was playing a lot because I was talented and I had been there. and I was somebody he knew he could rely on and everything that way. But we didn't have like the same relationship, and I think on the court that kind of showed too.
Yeah, that's difficult, man, because that happened to me my sophomore year. My position coach and a defensive coordinator, and it was like, he was a dude that recruited me as well. He ended up taking an NAIA job, and he kind of said the same thing to me, like, I want you to come, but I can't take you from coach. You know what I'm saying? That kind of, it messed me up, bro. I feel like, to me, I don't know if he felt like this way. I feel like it stunted and hindered my growth. Cause I went up there playing a totally different position. Like I never played corner a day in my life, and he was grilling me. He was getting me right, and then he just leave, and then I just had these other coaches where I ain't really rocking with them. I just feel like I don't know. I feel where you come from, bro. Cause like they didn't see the vision like he did.
Yeah, yeah, and that was kind of it was pretty much it was really similar for me that year too. It's like so yeah, the coach really wanted me and stuff out there, and we really got along great, and I was his guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I was the number one guy in his class. He made that evident, and he told me. I remember after we had lost, and because we went to the national tournament my freshman year, and he took me to the TV station to do the I don't know the interview with him with the local TV station after the season, just like on a season brief and like how things were going to look going into next year. And I was with him there in front of everybody on TV, and he's like, "Yeah, like this is my guy. Like we got a lot of good young guys. Like I'm excited for the program." And driving me back to the school, back to the dorm, I remember him saying, "Like, all right, like I'm gonna give you the keys to the car. Like let's go do this." And I felt like I was ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Also, the Santa Cruz Warriors, the G League team, used to be called the Dakota Wizards. So part of the reason I made that decision to go out there is because like I knew that I was with my guy, my coach, and the G League team was right down the road. So I'm like, if I show out, like my goal was always to play professionally. So if I show out, I was like, I can handle business and running into those guys in town and talking to them and doing some workouts and stuff with them. Like they were convinced, they were telling me at 18, 19, like, hey, bro, you're next. Like, let's do it. But yeah, like it just the changes that can happen like within a roster, within a program and stuff, just on a year-to-year basis, how things move and shift. I'm glad athletes now get more freedom to like move around and do those things because yeah, it can make a world of difference. Like my development is on me at the end of the day, but at the same time, like it does make a difference in your situation, and not everybody gets like a real fair shake in the situation. That goes for anybody.
So you played your junior year. Did your team have good success that year, or was it just
No,
one of them
we were
down years
bad.
again?
We were
Pretty
bad.
bad,
We were
yep.
really good my freshman year, and then I don't know how many games we won my sophomore, junior, and senior year, but it was not the same, man. It was freshman year was a movie, man. The gym was packed every night. I was alongside these dudes like we were partying after every game, and we were still winning, and it was something that I never experienced like that. And then sophomore year rolls around, the whole energy is different. We lose in junior year, same kind of thing. And it's not like we didn't have talent, but it was just we just didn't have the same success, the same continuity, and the same chemistry. And that's super important, especially at the collegiate level when everything's a lot closer in terms of competition.
So your senior year, you dropped 31 on Upper Iowa. Let's talk about that game.
Yeah, that was senior year, huh? Okay. Yeah, I mean, my family's from Iowa, so Upper Iowa is like a super small Division two school up in I think it's like Fayette, Iowa, or something like that. I couldn't even quote
Peacocks.
you on it.
I got a
Yeah,
letter from them.
Peacocks.
That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
know who
yeah.
they
I
are.
couldn't quote you on it, but either way, I had a lot of family at that game, and I remember texting one of my boys, Cam Lee. He was a senior when I was a freshman, so he's a part of that really good freshman team. And I remember talking to him as like my older brother, and he was just kind of talking me through some things, and I was just telling him like, "Yo, Cam, like I'm just gonna throw like everything that's happened to the side. Like I'm just gonna do me. Like I'm just gonna get busy now. You know what I'm saying?" And he's like, "All right, that's what you got to do. Like go do it." And he told me that before the game, and I had family there, and we ended up losing that game, which kind of sucks or whatever. But yeah, that was like I think that's the most points I scored in college for sure.
That's what's up, bro. So yeah, man. So obviously, college is hard. like you said, your freshman year was a movie. All the other years, it kind of was a letdown. So I want you to just, tell people like what are some of the challenges of being a student athlete? Because you come in with high expectations, like I'm finna be man, I'm finna do all American, we finna win national championships, and then when the reality hit, that doesn't happen. Talk about some of them challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I tell young guys that all the time now in terms of like their sport and all that. But I'm like, you got to realize like when you get to the college level, like everybody was the man from where they coming from, and everything start over. You know what I'm saying? Like you just because you was the man in high school, like you're not necessarily going to be the man here. And there are guys who average. I had a guy in my class who played for a smaller school in Minnesota, and he scored like 30 to 35 a game. And then he came in our freshman year, and he didn't play a minute. You know what I'm saying? Outside of like any meaningful minutes anyway. So it's all different that way. But like being a college athlete, it's like it's a job, man. The amount of film you got to go through, the amount of practices, the amount of weights, the individual workouts, the travel time. Like I'm getting off a bus at 4 a.m. in the morning after a 9-hour drive, and coach talking about like, hey, like y'all got to be in your 8 a.m. class. Like I'm checking. I'm like, it's different. It's crazy. And so it's like you don't really have I was lucky enough to be on a scholarship and all that, but you don't really have time to like work or like stack any money or do anything like that because practice and workouts and all that stuff takes up like so much of your day and of your time along with travel and all that stuff. And then you got to balance the school part of it too. And so I empathize for those college athletes because I know we've been through it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot, but I mean the DeLaSalle really prepped me really well in terms of like the academic rigor and everything that we had to go through. And I see why my mom sent me there because I don't think if I would have went to like a Minneapolis school if I would have turned out like the same way, not just in terms of the success, but in terms of like the lessons that I learned in the classroom and like how to be like a responsible, young adult.
Mm-hmm. No, that's crazy that you say that. 'Cause I tell people that. I said, honestly, if I went to the public school, I know my grades would have been really good. I said,
Right,
but I don't think I would have learned like how to be a real student and like, know how to conduct myself. It would have just been too easy for me.
right.
So like, I know, like, and I know like we both had the same major. I feel like college was easier
Yeah,
because I went to
yeah.
De La Salle. You
I
know what I'm
did
saying?
too. Like I got through high school and I got through college both kind of by the skin of my teeth. But I didn't work as hard in college as I did in high school and all that. But yeah, in
Right.
college, D definitely prepped me and had me ready for that.
Man, so you graduate, man, you get your degree. So you got an option, like I'm gonna, get a job or I'm gonna go pro. And knowing you, the goal was always to go pro. So talk about that. How do you go about that? Like when you graduate, do you gotta find an agent and then you just have them do it, or how does that work? I always lie and say I'm your agent at No Money
No
Agency,
money
but I'm
agency.
yeah,
Shout out. No money
you
agency.
know,
My guy Rome always got me right. You know what I'm saying?
I
I got no money.
nobody.
Anybody asks, I got no money.
Yeah, but just talk about that though. Like how was you feeling? Like you said, you was doing well, but the team wasn't doing well. So like, talk about that. Like how do you go about becoming a professional athlete after you graduate?
I mean, it's a lot. It's definitely easier if you go to a bigger school, a more heralded program. If you're like an All American, if you have like some kind of accolades, because you have to think about it this way: is what I really didn't understand in terms of being like a real professional and how all that stuff worked is it's a legitimate job and they're getting thousands of applications from agents, from players, like anybody who are applying to get to these jobs, these paid jobs where they're going to spend money on you, and like you have to do something to be different. You know what I'm saying? It's just like any other job that you would apply for. It's like what are you going to do to kind of make your resume stand out? And for me, we didn't have a lot of success my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I played okay, but I wasn't an All American like Moody. And for me, the goal was always to play professionally. That's what I wanted to do. Like I knew that. Like guys like Cam, Jamar, Joe, Teddy, they set the precedent at D, where it's like you go to D, you have success, you go to college, you have success, and then you go out and if you want to get some money, like it'll be there for you. And so that's the mold, that's the model I was following. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I would do anything I could to get an edge at that point. And I can't tell you how many. I didn't have an agent at that time because like, what agent wants to sign a guy out of a small school who had average stats, who played for a less than
Yeah.
average team.
You average double digits though. You average like 11 points a game as senior.
Yeah, but it's different though. You know what I'm saying? Like these teams are looking at they like, all right, well, am I gonna take this guy from Western Kentucky? Am I gonna take this guy from Texas A&M who averaged 7, or am I gonna take this guy from the University of Mary who averaged 11? You know what I'm saying? Like they know the level of competition. They understand ball, so like your resume is already stacked down at that point. Like in all reality, my first job, I mean, I was on my own. I didn't have an agent or anything like that. I was sending emails. I was sending my film out. I can't tell you the thousands of emails and stuff. I used to set an alarm to, like, depending on what country I was talking to at that time. I used to set an alarm on my phone, and it would wake me up at like 4 in the morning because the team is, I don't know, 6 hours ahead. And so this is when I think they'll be in their office or they'll be in their computer. And so I would set an alarm and wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and send all these emails to all these teams just trying to get a hit. And my first job I got was out in Korea, and that's something that I set up on my own through an agent that was working with some other guys, and that was like a really good experience. But then after that, it wasn't like a typical experience. Like I made my money, I played basketball, it was really good. I got to see something different, but I didn't really get anything from it aside from like a little money in that experience. And so it was kind of like starting over after that. And so what I ended up doing for my first job out in Germany is I had a connection with somebody who was already out there, who had played out there, and I flew myself out there, spent my own money, put myself up, worked out with this team, did this whole preseason thing with it. And then, eventually I got picked up by like one of the teams out there, but I really had to go get it on my own. Cause like I said, like what team and what agent is really going to come get you from a situation like that if you're not an All-American or if your resume is not shiny. So you kind of got to make it shake.
So was that the team in Germany? Was that the team that you had the black jerseys?
Yeah, that
Bro,
was that
you
team.
ain't that league, bro. I swear to God on my life, you were. I looked at some of those stats when you were playing. When you dropping like 30 a game, like when you
Yeah,
just
no,
going
I
crazy,
think I
bro.
think it was closer. It was closer to like 20 or 25, but I think that was like it was lower level like German ball and stuff like that. And so like you're expected to do some things like that. And the team I was playing for was really really ambitious in terms of like they wanted to move up, and so they were willing to like spend money on players and do all that. So
Yeah,
I got kind of lucky, but it didn't exactly work out. And that's kind of like a story for a different time. But yeah, I was getting busy with them.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So after that, what was your next move? Like after that one?
So after that, I went to Spain the next year.
Mhm.
It was funny because like one of my teammates, this club isn't a club anymore. This club in Germany, and kind of what they were doing was it's kind of like there's good and bad sides of like every job and like other clubs and some stuff. But the owner was kind of like a shady dude or whatever, and he would spend this money to get these American players to pretty much come play for his team, and we'd win all these games and inflate these stats, and then he'd just get like a new slew of American players to do this. And so he was just kind of winning these games and cycling these guys through. And so when I didn't end up finishing the season with that team. When I ended up getting sent home, one of my teammates saw kind of how the club did me, and he went to go. He ended up getting picked up for this team in Spain, and then so that next year, that team in Spain wanted to have me, and they wanted to have him on that team, and he didn't end up going back there, but I ended up getting the opportunity to go out there, and that situation was completely different. Like the club was very professional, took care of me, and that was a good time.
So when you say take care of you, talk about some of the things these clubs provide for you when you're out there.
I mean, if you get in the right situation, a lot of times the club will provide, your flights. They'll provide an apartment. The team in Spain, they gave me like it wasn't like a meal per diem, but like sometimes they give you money for meals. For us, it was like they had a sponsor that was this restaurant that was like
Mhm.
really close to our apartment, like downtown, and we could just go over there pretty much and eat almost like whenever we wanted to. And so that was like super dope to be able to do that. A lot of times you get like a car and stuff like that too. It all really just depends on your situation, but they like aside from maybe a couple payments like being late, like I got nothing bad to say about that, man. It was a really good situation. They were really nice. We played pretty well that year. I had a game winner against the best team in the league that year.
Mhm.
And I really thought like it was only going up from there, but sometimes life got other plans.
So you said they paid you late?
I mean, sometimes it's not necessarily not not normal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just kind of yeah, like, normally we got paid once a month. Sometimes they pay you like every 2 weeks or something, but like we got paid once a month, and sometimes like the money would be, they'd be like, I'll get you next week. I'll get you next week, you know what I'm saying? And you got to kind of ask them for it. Like they always came through for it. They don't owe me any money or anything like that. But yeah, sometimes it can be like that, man, especially at the lower levels when you first get started.
Yeah, that's real. So you've been playing for 9 years. Is there any like crazy stories you could tell me? Like any funny instances that happened while you was out there? Because obviously you're a foreign player. This is not your country. Anything funny happen? Any like stories you like, man, never coming back here again. Well, I don't want to put you out like that because you gotta get a job. But hey, you got any
Hey,
funny stories?
look, hey, look, look. I got some stories for sure. You know what I'm saying? But like the huddle is a family friendly podcast, so I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it straight up for what it was. Like
For sure.
briefly, like I've seen players. I mean,
Go ahead.
yeah. So like pretty much like my team in Germany. Like I said, they're not a club anymore. The GM, I don't know where he's at. He might be in jail or something like that. But like how it was working is like, he was paying me and stuff like that. I had an apartment. I was all cool. I was practicing, and then they were sending me home over Christmas because like usually the leagues have a break over the Christmas holiday. And so I'm going home, and like my connecting flight is through Iceland, like leaving Europe to go back to Minneapolis. And I remember going through immigration, and the team had told me like when I got there that they took care of my visa. Like they took my passport and they gave it back to me a couple of days later, and I was like, oh, the visa's done with and all that. And they were like, yeah, it's done with. And I didn't know any better at the time, and so like I just considered my passport was good, my visa was good, everything was cool. So I'm trying to go home over Christmas, and immigration in Iceland is like asking me where I'm coming from because they see like the stamps in my passport and everything. And I was told him, oh, I was playing over in Germany, and I was doing all this. He's like, oh, you're a professional. That's cool. That's cool. He's like, how long were you over there? I tell him how long I was over there. He's like, oh, you must be making decent money. And I'm like, yeah, I make some money and all that, but I'm just going home to see my family over the holiday and everything. And so he pretty much told me, he was like, he came and went and got somebody else from immigration. And he's like, yeah, so pretty much like you were living and you were working like illegally. I was like, no, I wasn't living and working illegally. Like, my visa's in the passport. Like, you can check the little thing. And he's like, no visa in here. Like, it's nothing like that, And so I'm sitting here and I'm trying to call the GM of the club on the phone when I'm at the airport, and he's not picking up. And he's kind of giving me the run around. I'm trying to get a hold of my family and stuff like that because they got me like detained in like this little area. Like, I'm not in handcuffs or nothing, but I'm like in a little side area away from everybody else. And they going through my passport and like doing all this stuff, and I'm trying to figure out like what's going on actually, you know what I'm saying? And then pretty much like he came back and they put like a little something in my passport that like banned me from coming back to Europe for like the next 6 months. So like I couldn't even finish that season, and I thought it was just a mistake, but like it was really just like the owner was just kind of shady, and that's kind of what he was doing with American dudes. He like bring them in, he have them play for the team. They get their team's wins. He pays them their little money or whatever, and then he like sends them on their way. And so like obviously I don't associate with him no more. But yeah, that was like a real wake up call to me to business and how everybody doesn't go about it the right way.
Dang, that's crazy.
It's a different life. You know what I'm saying? In Germany, it's like we win a game, and Europe kind of operates different. Like I don't party like that no more. But at the time, like I was partying. We was winning, and we go out. Our club was in like a small town, but we take the train around like midnight to go to the clubs and the bar in like this bigger town that was next to us. And the train stopped running at like 3, but the club don't close until like 5. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so we'd be in there partying all night, and then we had to wait for the train and the next morning or whatever to take that back to our town, because it was just like super, super cheap and easy. But you see a lot, like the experience is great being around these other countries and cultures and these other people. Like you learn a lot about the world, and you learn a lot about yourself that like I wouldn't trade for anything. But yeah, man, it's a lot of stories about a lot of things. Like I've seen a player punch a coach like just dead in the face. I've seen people not getting paid. I'm not getting paid, and people like, all right, well, you're not gonna pay me. Like I'm not practicing, I'm not playing, I'm not doing nothing like that. So then it's like the game roll around and dudes sitting here in their slides and everything, and they not going in the game because they ain't got their money. And it's like, I get that, you're getting paid for your work and all that, but
Right.
But yeah, man, there's a lot that goes on. I wouldn't trade the experiences for nothing. Like I love what I do, and I love that part of it. But yeah, man, I got some stories.
So your last stop, you were just in Australia, and I know that was a really good league for you. How was that experience? Was it called the NBL?
This was the NBL one, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Australia. Um, Nothing bad to say about the club or the league. Like Australia is obviously one of the stronger basketball countries in the world, so they have a lot of a stronger local talent. Um, and our team was good. They ended up. I signed like a player replacement contract, so I wasn't down there for the full season. I was replacing a guy that they had signed previous. But our team was good. They ended up going all the way to the finals or whatever. But then they lost in the finals to go to like the national competition. The league's broken up into like I want to say like 4 or 5 different parts. And then like at the end, like those teams that win if you win your conference, if you win your division, you go to the national final. But yeah, no, it was really cool, man. I saw some stuff, kangaroos, koalas. I saw some Australian stuff. The people were really nice. Australian people are really hilarious. The basketball was good. The only thing that was like a real struggle for me was just like when you're gone a lot, it's super important that you keep in touch with your family, your friends, and things like that. At least it is for me because I didn't have my significant other or anybody out from my family out there with me. And the time difference I think was like 14 and a half hours. So it's like if
Yeah.
I'm waking up at 8 a.m., like it's already 10 p.m. here. And so like if you sleep 7, 8 hours a day, like you don't get that much time to like talk to your family. So you kind of have to make time to do with that, so you can see your people and do all of that. But no, it was a good experience, man. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah. So this is what this will be year 10 coming up. You still on the grind, man. So talk about your next move. I know you just signed with. Did you just sign with a new agency?
Yeah. So shout out to my guy Brady or whatever.
Representative. Yep.
Yeah. My guy Brady works out of Queensland or whatever. He's an Australian guy too. Looking at the NBL one again in terms of like what I'm gonna do next. It's just different now, like when I was younger, it was a lot easier to kind of, just do whatever I was doing. But like as you get older, things in your life change. You have a little more responsibilities. You put some other things kind of in perspective. And I love to play. I love to compete. Like what Money Mitch said, I love to grind. I love to hustle. Like that's me to like a T. Like I love it. I don't know what I would do without it. But yeah,
Right.
as I'm transitioning, you know what I'm saying? Like I just turned 33 last month, and so I kind of got to figure out like what's next for me or like what I want to do. And so like we're seeing what we can do down in Australia. But at the same time, it's like I still have other avenues and other relationships and other people that I've worked with in the past too. Um, in terms of like what's next, it could be kind of up in the air. I don't want to.
For sure.
Stuff's moving.
That's real, man. That's real. So, hey, we about to wrap up, man. One thing I guess I want to go back because totally skipped this, and then I'm gonna give you your flowers after this. So, remember we mentioned you did run track. So our senior year, we end up finally getting a championship of some sort in a 4x1. Talk about that, because that was crazy. That whole experience, I had went down, and not trying to toot my horn because I was the leader of the team at that point. But you guys stepped up, walked with the replacement. We came in blazing as usual. Um, but we ended up getting it done, man. I feel like we finally we went out on a great note, and I feel like we reversed the curse. You feel me? Because for football we were losing, basketball we were losing state, and then like track, that's a sport we just like whatever. We doing it for fun,
We was just out there running in a circle. That's what we was doing.
right? With no form. So we end up
No.
win we end up winning state. So let's talk about that, man. That was real dope to see. Even though I was on the sideline crying, but I was happy. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I was so happy, bro, because I was just like, man, we finally did something together. Like,
Yeah, and
we talk about it, like what coulda, what shoulda,
yeah,
but like we finally got something. We left on a high note. So just talk about that real quick.
yeah. It's always easier to talk about like what you could have and should have done, But like that was a big thing. I mean, for us, because they were talking about. I mean, the year before that, after we had ran the fastest time in prelims, like this is where I thought you were going with the question.
No, I didn't
Is
want to put you out, bro.
yeah. The year before that in the same relay, we had run the fastest time in prelims, and we messed up the exchange. And when I said we, I messed up the exchange on the handoff on the third leg of the 4x1 in the state finals and disqualified us. So we didn't get a chance to finish, and we were leading at that point too. I'm sure.
Yeah, we were gonna
So
win.
that was kind of the
We were
thing. It's
winning.
like, yeah, the DeLaSalle curse. Like they couldn't get it done in track and field. In our class at 2010, like Ramon did real well in the hurdles. Like John
We
Boyce
won.
did really well in the mile or the 2 mile, whatever crazy race he ran. And then we had the 4x2 and the 4x1. And unfortunately, the 4x2 didn't go our way in sections, but like we were primed to win state in that too. But no, that was really cool because I guess that's the only championship that we really got in high school, and so that was kind of important in that sense. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was just kind of crazy. It speaks to our class in general though, because like we weren't track athletes. Like we didn't end up running track. Like we just kind of pulled up. If people don't know, it's like, yeah, we won state that year, but like we don't have a track at D. Like we couldn't have no practice. Like we were just out there running hill sprints and running on the concrete. And then like once or twice a week, we got to go to a track and like try and put some work in. And they would just, you got an hour to practice. And so it's
Right.
like to be able to get that done when we don't have the resources, it just kind of like spoke to who we were and the kind of athletes that we were at that time. But yeah, like we got it done. We was champs. I can't be mad at it.
Facts. We really used to go to Brooklyn Center twice a week to do practices, and other than that, like you said, we run it on the island.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, that was dope, man. So yeah, give you your flowers, bro. I give you shit all the time. I talk shit to you every day, but man, like for you to continue your grind is definitely inspiring. Most of us is like married with kids and like you still doing something you love. Like you know what I'm saying? You still hooping, you still doing your thing, like and you not stopping. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
remember I remember I asked you like when you gonna stop? You was like when my body tells me to stop. And like obviously you're you still physically you still got it, bro. You still be hooping, man. Like I just I appreciate that grind, bro. Like cause most people would have stopped. You feel me? Especially
Yeah.
like at our age, but you still working, you still doing your thing, man. And shit, I want you to continue going so I can be like, yeah, my boy playing overseas. I always tell people I got my homie playing overseas. That's something for me. Like, I teach, so I got kids that be like, oh, I want to play this. I know if I need to call you and you can spit some game to them, I know I
Right.
got that avenue as well, man. But yeah, I just want to give you your flowers, bro, because you still doing it. Even some of the other dudes that been playing that was in our class, some of them have stopped, but you're still doing this. So man, hey, continue to do it until you can't do it no more, man. It's something for us to talk about. So I really appreciate that, man. And thank you for finally getting on the huddle with wrong. You was bluffing me at first, but it's all good. You
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dog.
I wouldn't leave you out to dry for too long. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate the nice words and the flowers and all that, but it's just different for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm doing something that I love to do and all that too. But like on the reverse side of that, for me, is like what I love being able to see like the guys that I grew up with and my friends and my family and they starting families of their own. You know what I'm saying? And they're healthy and y'all are doing well and your families are happy and your families are thriving. Like that's inspiring for me because as somebody who hasn't like necessarily started that part of their journey yet, like that's kind of what I'm transitioning into next. In the same way y'all may be looking at me like I'm looking at you. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all are setting a blueprint for me. So like I can figure it out and do that the same way too. So like don't sell yourself short. Like the real know what the real is, you know what I'm saying? So like I know how y'all get down and I appreciate y'all, man. And it's all love.
And last thing, any like words of encouragement for like the younger viewers that's watching, just about your journey in life and so.
I mean, I would just say like nobody's gonna work harder for you than you. So if there's something that you really want, like you just got to be real with yourself and you got to put in the work. Like there's no substitute for it. Like if you want to get better, then you gotta get in the gym. Like if you're not doing what you need to do in school or if you're struggling, like you gotta go out and get extra help or you gotta do whatever you need to put yourself in the best position to be successful because you can always make excuses about woulda coulda shoulda, but I mean at the end of the day it's like your life is your life and you're gonna get out everything that you put into it and things won't always go your way, but like if you work at it, like eventually you're gonna find a win. So you just gotta put the work in.
But all right, man, appreciate it.